Good morning, everyone. Again, people who've joined us just now. And this session, Strategic Case Study May 2017, the case study tips is brought to you by Ultimate Access. And my name is Andrew De Alves. And we will go through this session for approximately 50 minutes. And I will touch on some key points. Some of the key points that are very important for your exam. So let us start. Now, in this session, I will attempt to cover all 5 areas. That's about your pre-scene, how to carry out an active reading session, about your industry, some areas you need to focus on, right? The risks in this particular industry, ethical aspects in the industry, and very important, the exam writing tips. Okay, now we're going to have a very interactive session. Interactive as in you will be talking to me via the chat box, right? So I encourage you to do that. Now, first of all, congratulations on taking the step to pass this exam. The first thing that you've done is you guys are here attending the session. That's great. And a little bit about Ultimate Access. We're a company based in the UAE. Predominantly, we do online education for all CIMA subjects. And we do have lecturers based across all different countries. So you will get a rich experience from all these lecturers from we've got lecturers from the US, UK to Australia to Europe, UAE and Sri Lanka, India. So we've got lots of lecturers from different parts of the world, which is great. And what we are going to be doing here currently is we will go through this session with you today, focusing on the strategic case study for the May exam, right? And please note, this session will also is recorded currently. So let me press the recording button as well here on our WebEx session to ensure that the recording takes place. We've got 2 recordings going currently, which is great. Okay, so let us jump into our case study, right, and find out what we are supposed to do. Now, first thing is we need to understand your role. Okay, your role in this case study is extremely important. Why? Because there are certain competencies that the examiner is looking for in your answer. So we have to set the scene here, set the stage here, right? And go into that space and say, what is your role? Examiner will be posing certain questions and you need to assume this role of a senior manager who advises, who guides, who recommends to the board. Remember, this is your role and you need to have these competencies, technical skills, business skills, people skills and leadership skills when you're answering this question given by the examiner, right? Always remember this role, because it is extremely important. I have seen students assume different roles, assume roles of management, not at strategic level. There is a big difference between the management level and the strategic level, and that you can see in the competencies as well. As you can see, as a strategic senior manager, your competencies, they are almost equal, right? Equal proportions. They're requesting you to answer in this manner. In your management, you're looking at your technical skills. The examiner is looking at your technical skills more. At a strategic level, you are looking at long-term decisions, how it will impact the company, right, in the long term. And of course, your professional opinion related to ethics becomes extremely important as well. And please remember this role when you're answering the questions asked. This is the most important thing. The next one, I want to straight away jump into examiner's report in February 2017. Again, it will give you an idea about past performance and where the examiner will be focusing on. They have been emphasizing on this ethics for number of years now, and they're stating ethics was one poor area, another was governance, which was surprising, right? Now this is something where you can score marks easily, ethics area, right? So when I go to the section how to answer an ethics question, you will see the structure that we are looking at as well. So please, ethics, you need to know the ethics, the CIMA, Code of Conduct, the ethics side of it, how you should be answering an ethical question, right? And they're also stating that the candidates are becoming weaker at technical accounting questions. Be careful, guys, right? I know there are a lot of CAs here, so we should not have a problems with the CAs, but there are other candidates who are coming from different qualifications, as well as we've got exemptions. So I will ask you to please go through the F3 area, right? F3 area, company valuations, right? And also looking at investment appraisals, the decision makings, areas like that, because they find that the technical side of our candidates are not that strong. So they will be looking, posing questions in this area. So be careful. Answer as many questions as you can in this space, right? Well, they have given us some good news, which is candidates are much better at structuring their answers, which is very good. And here you go. The examiner is giving you a very big tip, saying it is much easier to mark scripts if they are a good structure and are well laid out, because after all, examiners are humans, right? So now they don't have to bother with our ugly handwriting. I don't know about you, but with me it was very difficult for me to go do the handwriting side of it, and my handwriting wasn't the best. So when you guys have to type it in, it's fantastic for the examiner, but make it easier. Market your answer, right? Don't have everything in one paragraph, all the points in one paragraph. So that's where the examiner is giving you a massive tip, saying please structure your answer properly, because at times people fail with just 2-3 marks, right? So please be aware. Now this is another very good point, and believe me, I have seen students answer the wrong question, right? They write beautiful answers but to a different question, and it has happened in my class several times, right? And another area that they're saying is lack of sufficient depth, right? The examiner is looking for answers with certain amount of the volume of it should be a certain amount, and we will go to that as well very soon. We will discuss about that. Is everyone clear? I hope everyone is clear with this one. Any questions, as I said, please put it in the chat box or email me. We'll attempt to answer all the questions. Now, what is active reading? I'm sure you have read this many a time, right? Many a time you've read the pre-scene. But you would not have done some active reading. So my questions to you are, have you summarized the pre-scene in 1 or 2 pages? If you have to summarize the pre-scene, this is where you will be actively reading it and shortening it in order to summarize it to a 1-pager, right? You have to think about it. So this means you have to carry out active reading. Right? Are you able to draw the organization chart of the company, names of people by memory without looking at the pre-scene? Are you able to do that? This means you're recalling the names, right, of the people who are working there. Because this is extremely important as well when it comes to writing your answer. Because you can't be looking at your pre-scene material even if it's there at the exam. You cannot be wasting time looking at the pre-scene and say, oh, what's the name of the production manager? Can't remember. It's better, if you're able to do this activity, draw the organization chart, including the names of the people by memory. That means you've got it. You don't have to refer to your pre-scene. This is what we're trying to do, right? And in each page, look at it in different angles and see, what are the risks and opportunities, right, in this space? What are the risks and opportunities in this page, right? And see, well, what can we derive from this? Okay, so that will also give you a different angle to the case study. And another one is, have you narrated the pre-scene story to your husband, wife, children, brother, sister, parents, and friends? Right, drive everybody mad by the end of the exam. This is what's going to happen. But narrating a story is a very powerful thing, right? It's a very powerful tool because you have to recall what's in your pre-scene and then tell somebody in a very interesting manner, right? Your children, if you've got children will, tell you very promptly if it's not interesting, right? They'll switch off immediately. Okay, so please do these activities. If you've not done these so far, please, we've got time, please do it, right? Because this means you'll be thorough with your pre-scene when you come to the exam. Okay, then I want to touch on some key areas about this industry. Sugary sodas are under fire, right? Juice sales are slipping. Now these are from an industry journal, okay, and from the Business Insider we've got this information. And it seems like this industry is going through a big transformation, right? A big transformation. Now our company has been in this business for how long, guys? Now this is where you talk to me. For how long has this company been in this industry? From 1890? Yes, very long time, isn't it? Very long time. So what's the problem? What's the problem? What do you see as a problem issue here? A very long time. So we are going through a transformation. There'll be some issues. Not a market leader, but also look at their products. Have they changed their products in the recent years? No, they've not changed, isn't it? They've not changed. So they're kind of in the past. They're in the past. They've not changed. So what's going on? We'll have to do some serious change management here and some seriously different ways of thinking, because it seems like the people who are in the leadership roles are kind of, living in the past. But do you think it's going to be easy to tell your board that you guys are living in the past? Wake up. Do you think that? Do you think it's going to be difficult or easy? All the senior managers are, it's a difficult thing, right? So the communication skills need to come through, right, in your answers. So you will see this. It's a difficult thing. The stakeholder management is an important thing here. So what tool will you use for stakeholder management? What do you think? What tool will you be using for stakeholder management? And just to let you know, guys, when it comes to tools and Mandler's matrix, Imran says correct. Well, when it comes to these tools and frameworks, they are only good because they will give us a structure when we answer. That is all they're good for, right? They'll give us that great structure. Examiner is not looking for a definition of a tool or asking you to talk at length about this tool, right, or model. He or she wants to see how you apply it, right? How you apply it. So now from that first paragraph here, and also looking at this, we know we've got some challenges. Right? Focus on drinks and the content that goes into it, right? Focus on the drinks and the contents. So what's happening is we have to be very conscious, right? We have to be very conscious of what is going into this drink. Why? Because there's legislations coming through, right? Or new ones already passed. We are planning on maybe moving to another country, and that country may have very stringent legislations as to what should contain in that particular drink. So we have to be quite aware of this, and there are ongoing basis, there'll be new things coming on. People are very, very conscious of what they put in their mouths, right? What they consume, right? Food and drink are very important things. And what else is happening? Social media, right? Social media and consumers from across the world getting together, right, can push for certain legislations as well. So some people have asked me where to look for these tools. These tools are there in your E3, F3, P3 content, right? There are some key tools that are there that can be used, and that'll, if you go through this content, you will identify some of the key tools. Now, another thing about your industry is we are in manufacturing, isn't it? So, huge opportunity for examiner to ask you all wonderful questions around TQM, artificial intelligence, process re-engineering, right? All this requires what? All this will require what? Let me ask you guys, what do we require for any of these things? What do we require? I'm waiting for people to answer. Yes, rereading all of them. That is true. Yeah, that is true, Imran. There is something that you need. Spot on, Shoaib. Investment, change management. Mohammed, fantastic. That's great. Yeah, investment, change management is the key, right? So then I'm trying to tell you guys now, I'm seeing investment here, right? Change management. Now there is another tool which is one of my favorite tools of all time, right? And that is the SAFS model. The SAFS model, right? Suitability, exactly, Imran, very good. SAFS model is what you have to use, and then look, because it's going to be huge investment. It is not small change, right? It's going to be huge investment. You're going to change the direction of the company. All these things are good, things are going to happen, but you need to understand, is it suitable, right? Acceptable, feasible, right? And sustainable. Pradeep, very good, spot on. So these things, you need to think of all these areas, right, when you're structuring the answer. Yeah, so you can see how we are going about this whole industry. So FIS, so S stands for suitability. S stands for suitability, right? Please, this model, if you don't know any other model, this is one of the key models that you should know, right? So it's very, very good. It's very good model that can be used. Now let us go to, this is some of the key areas. I know, you know, you guys have done a lot of research and looked into the industry the FIS is in. I'm in some WhatsApp groups and I can see a lot of activity going on, which is great, but look at these areas as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. Wow, risks in the industry. Don't we have many? Innovating new products, which FIS, what do you think? Innovating new products, where is FIS? At a high level or a low level? Innovating new products. They're far behind, isn't it? They're far behind. We need to actually come up with new products, right? So new investment at a strategic level, very good, Imran, right? That is needed. And when we are going in for these new products, think of how am I going to account for R&D? How am I going to account? This is where your technical skills will come in. How am I going to account for the R&D part of it? Think about it, right? What are the accounting standards? How can we position it? And we are looking at reliable, efficient, profitable product, right? And it should be consistent and be given, and this product will be sent out to a huge customer base. So therefore, you know, the taste of it should be consistent, right, and very high quality. And we also have to achieve and maintain compliance with the government's industry regulations, ongoing basis. So this requires quite a lot of investment and operational cost. Remember that. Now, I have got something called cybersecurity. How does cybersecurity play here? Can you tell me? How will cybersecurity and FIS come together? What do you think? How does that work? How does that work? What do you guys think? Data of the company, Pradeep, that's very good. Very important to secure the data of the company. What else? What else? It's a quoted company. Yeah, correct, Shoaib. Yeah, what else? Right. So guys, don't only think of data. Okay, that's the most obvious one, the data, right? But we need to go in a little bit more and think, well, what else can get compromised? What are we dealing with? Food, drinks, right? Basically a drink. So the content that goes into it, how is it measured, monitored, etc., etc. So let us go into this. Now, I want to tell you something. I would want all of you guys, please read this. It's not a long, very long, lengthy document. Very interesting document, right? Please read this. CGMA has invested quite a lot of money developing this cybersecurity tool. Therefore, they're expecting you guys to read it, all of us to read it, and it's a very, very good, informative article, a report which we can implement in our day-to-day life as well, right? So it's not only for your exam purposes, but also can use in your professional life, right? Because what I have seen in the past with CIMA is you need to read widely, and especially where they have invested, right? Where CIMA has invested, CGMA has invested. They have come out with this tool brand new in April. Okay, they've come out with this tool in April. So they have been developing it before, and cybersecurity is in everyone's agenda these days, everyone's agenda. So look at this. It has some important aspects. So what are we saying here? Be proactive, prevent threats, and prepare yourself. So this is, I'm going into your P3 area. Educate your people, promote cyber resilience, and it is top down basically. This agenda has to be top down, right? Now let us go to the next one just to show you guys, cyber attacks, financial and supply chain. How does this whole thing link together? Look at this. 24% of all reported data breaches occurred in the food and beverage industry, second only to retail. Did you know that? It's crazy, isn't it? Right? It is really a very concerning area, right? It's second only to retail. With one attack, retailer Target lost around 40 million credit and debit card numbers, resulting in a drop in consumer confidence and loss of trust completely, right? We have to be very, very careful about this. Then on the other side, this is something new, agroterrorism, right? Agroterrorism, or the international contamination of the food supply with goal of terrorizing the population and causing harm, is an increasing risk. You have to be aware of this. Okay? You have to be aware of this, and there might be an opportunity for you to talk about this. Do mention it, right? You will get extra marks, right? Because this word agroterrorism is quite an important thing. Yeah. So we all talk about investment in big data, do this, do that, along with investment in information technology comes the other side of it, which is the risks, right? It's not just financial risks, but throughout your supply chain and how people can get into your production systems. Very, very important. Okay, and well, we're talking about now the ethical aspects of the industry, right? How can we look, some key areas to look at? How can we avoid product recalls? We can use, again, investment in information technology. This is the positive side of it, right? Where the systems are set up in such a way, predictive maintenance is carried out, right? And then we can avoid product recalls. Recalls are a huge thing in the beverage industry. Then we are looking at sweet and how damaging that is. The sweet and how damaging that is to humans, right? So that's an ethical thing. What content that goes into it. What about the other nasties and their effect? Like, for example, the caffeine, how it has impact on hyperactivity, disrupted sleep, etc., etc., right? How do we manage that in a more ethical manner? Then we are looking at packaging and its impact, right? We use cans, we use bottles, glass bottles, we use then paper products. How do we recycle it? How do we recycle it? Then another massive item that goes into the content is water. And there is a shortage of proper drinking water across the world, and especially in certain countries. This is a massive issue. So it's a very ethical, this is a dilemma, this is an issue. How do we use water? How do we use it effectively, efficiently in our whole production process? And advertising and positioning the advertisements for youth. It's a very influential age. They go through a very influential age. So how am I going to position these adverts and the products that we sell? Because if it's, we need to come up with new products, and we know the sweets are damaging. So how are we going to position our ads? Yeah. This is another fabulous tool brought to you by CIMA themselves, right? So if there is an ethical question, how are you going to answer it? Right? How are you going to answer this? First, check all the facts, right? You need to state these are the facts. Is it ethical? Is it legal? Sometimes it is unethical, but it may be legal, right? So you need to identify that part of it. Is it ethical, legal? Which fundamental principle of ethics is compromised? Okay. Who are the identified parties? You can see a very good structure here. We've identified, these are the facts. Is it ethical, unethical? What fundamental principles are broken here? Then who is impacted? Possible courses of action need to be there with recommendations, right? So this is the kind of structure that CIMA themselves have put out, okay? So, and it is, I must say, a fantastic structure to answer your questions, right? You will not miss anything. Now, what are the ethical principles, right? What are the code of conduct? So you should know this by heart, because you should be able to apply this into different scenarios, right? In all your all your questions that you get, the 3 questions, look at them with an ethical stance, ethical lens into it, and say, well, am I compromising something here? Is there a opportunity for me to write something about ethics here? Ask yourself that question, right? Because examiner will give you marks, because he's saying students are very poor in this area. Yeah, even if it's not a direct question, if it is an indirect thing that you can put into your answer, please do. So these are some of the questions that are there to kind of help you answer these ethical questions. So when you're attempting, you're doing your mock exams, or doing more questions, I think have this one beside you and try to answer, okay? Try to answer based on this, because it's important. This will get you into that right framework, important framework, yeah? Now I'm going to give you a little bit of an exercise, right? This is February 2017, not so long ago, variant 3, question 1. The story, look at this newspaper article. The story is on the front page of most newspapers, and it has ever been made the television news bulletins. The board is meeting in 2 hours to discuss long-term issues arising from this story. There have been similar allegations about Danny's behavior in the past, and we need to be ready to reassure the shareholders that everything is under control. Some of our largest shareholders have been in touch to ask for some reassurance, and everything is in order. I need your thoughts on the following matter. Firstly, bearing in mind Teal and Variety is an entertainment program, would it be unethical for Danny to manipulate the judges as alleged? Secondly, some of the board wish me to remind our larger shareholders that they hold diversified portfolios and that any risks associated with this story are unsystematic and so they can be ignored. Explain whether this is a valid argument. Very interesting. Two areas they are bringing together, right? They're looking at the ethical side as well as another area. What do you guys think? What's that other area they're checking you on? They're testing you on another area. What do you think? One side is the ethics side and the other side is what? Risk management. Very good, Shoaib, right? Risk management. Good, Pradeep. That's it, right? So you need to know here what is unsystematic risk and systematic risks is, right? That's really important. Now, what I want to show you is how did they answer this question. And this is a little bit about this daily news story that's come about. It can happen to us as well, right? There can be some disaster that's taken place and there can be a story that's coming on, right, about FIS and how we're going to manage this, right? And here you go. Let me close this chat box and just to show you, look at, this is the answer to that particular question. Look at the way the answer has been structured. They are very clearly stating, calling out the principles that were breached, right? So that is very, very important. Yeah, very important. They're stating the facts here, but then they have to state the principles that are being breached, right? So I want, when I go to answer, please remember this, because when I will cover another area which is writing tips, I will refer to this one again. Okay, I will refer to this particular answer again because it's a very important thing. The way they have structured it, they have stated why they think Danny is, what Danny has done is not ethical. These are the reasons, right? So we will come back to this again. Yeah. Now, writing tips. We are looking for 850 words in an answer, right? You need to know the number of questions in this particular scenario. That is very important, right? And look at this one. Type the questions asked in the scenario in the answer plan, right? Why do you think you do it? It's because I have seen many a time where students have forgotten to write that particular point and examiner will not give you marks. So that's where you get a moderate, right? In that particular answer, you will get a moderate pass and you will not pass that exam, right? So the answer plan is extremely important. I cannot emphasize enough. The answer plan is very, very important. You plan your answer, look at the question, look at your scenario, type in the questions, the number of questions that have been asked, right? so that when you start your writing your proper answer, you will always refer back to that one. Another very, very important point, relax. Because you cannot be creative if you're not relaxed. Okay, you can only be creative when you're relaxed. Yeah. You will face sometimes a situation where you actually have not gone through that particular area that the examiner is asking you, and your brain freezes and you think, oh no, I don't know really what to write. Okay, I don't know what to write. So then you need to be creative. This is the time you need to relax and be creative, because if you go on saying, oh, I don't know, you will not know what to write. Honestly, you will not know. But the examiner will only give you marks for what you write. So does he or she know that you don't know the answer? They don't. Therefore, please write. Okay? Please attempt. Structure your answer very well. Right? Structure it very well. Who are the stakeholders that are going to get affected? What is their interest? How will they get affected? And if there is a particular stakeholder, very important one, then how to handle that specific stakeholder, right? You have to identify these so that it's easy for you to answer. Okay. Now, timing your answer. As I said, please do not launch into writing your answer. Plan it. It's the most important thing. Plan it. Read the question, read the scenario, identify what are the questions asked. Look at what are some of the models that I can use here to structure my answer. Is there any opportunity for me to bring in the ethical side? Is there any opportunity? Ask those questions, right? Type it. You don't have to write it down in a piece of paper. Type it in that answer itself on the computer and call it as a working, and thereafter start your proper answer. Please do that. Okay. So identify the questions, draw up the plan, check to make sure you answer all the questions, right? As I said, stop looking at the unseen, right? And write your answers from that particular plan, because you've read the unseen now, structured your plan, and then go for it. Okay. Plan it with detailed timing, right? Because aim for 2 paragraphs per heading. Each paragraph 3 to 4 lines long, and don't repeat, as it doesn't may earn marks. Be careful, like what the examiner stated. Structure it nicely so that he or she can give you marks easily, right? So this is the reason why use your plan points as your headings. These are your headings, right? Aim for 2 paragraphs per heading. Each paragraph 3 to 4 lines long, right? So the examiner, it's very easy for the examiner to read. Yeah, to read. It's very easy for the examiner to read. Please provide a recommendation and conclusions, right? Please provide it. Now, I had when I give questions to students and when they answer them, sometimes they've said, well, I don't have sufficient information, therefore I cannot answer this particular question. Please don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Okay? At the exam, don't ever do that, because they're going to fail you, right? the given information, with the given information, you need to come to a recommendation. You have to, right? Make assumptions, and please state your assumptions in your answer, when you're writing your answer, right? Because examiner cannot read your mind, fortunately or unfortunately. Okay, hence please state it in your answer. Yeah, this is the assumptions that I'm making. Because of that, because of these reasons, I'm providing this recommendation. Okay, now when you raise a point, you need to justify it. Keep asking yourself why whenever you make a point. Remember, I told you I'm going to refer back to that question and the answer about the ethical question, right? You could just state, well, Danny has not done a very ethical act. Therefore, this is incorrect. All what he has done is not correct. You can write and conclude it with 5 lines, really. But will you get marks? No way. You're not going to get marks for that, even though it's quite obvious he's not done the proper thing, right? This is the reason why the examiner in that answer given had justified, called out what are the breaches that has occurred, right? It's important to emphasize, it's important to state why things went wrong, right? So this is a very important point that you need to remember. I'm again repeating here certain things, which is aim for 20 words per minute, right? You should have approximately 800 words at minimum for a 60-minute question, right? Now, again, a little bit of an exercise for you. How many questions are there in this scenario? How many questions are there in this scenario? What do you guys think? Let us read quickly and say how many questions are there. Okay, some are saying 4, some are saying 5, some, yeah, go on. Let's see. This is a test, just giving you a test, right? Okay, right, there you go. These are the 4 questions, right? These are the 4 questions. Now, you need to highlight them, or you need, in your answer plan, you need to make sure, well, you need to address these things, and when you're structuring your answer, ensure that you address all 4. If you miss one, examiner is not going to pass you, right? He's not going to pass you. Now, in order to practice your speed, these are some of the websites that you can go to and practice your speed, right? And also, again, I want to emphasize the importance of marketing your answer, right? You have to make it easy for the examiner to give you points. Don't put 3-4 points in one paragraph. He will not be able to see it. Okay? Please ensure that you write separate paragraphs, emphasizing, so that the person can see the number of points that you have put out for that particular question, right? Keep the language appropriate to the recipient of the document. Now, if you're addressing the board, it's quite a serious, or the CEO, it is quite formal. Sometimes it might be your manager has sent you an email, right? Dear John, how are you? Hope you're doing well, etc., etc. Hope you had a great holiday. So when you are responding, right? When you're responding, ensure that you respond the same way, especially when you start off the answer, right? So that's also the examiner is looking at your people skill, right? That's why we are saying keep the language appropriate to the recipient of your document, right? We come to almost the end of our session now, and I want to talk a little bit about neuroscience and relaxing makes you more creative. The reason for me to say this is because I know a lot of you are very anxious, very stressed, right? But when you go to the exam, you need to be creative because you need to come up with really good answers, right? As I said, maybe you come across an area, a question is asked, you've not studied that area. It has happened to me several times. So we are all in the same boat, right? And just be creative. Look at the English language and see, okay, what is the examiner asking here? Let me see, how can I put these things together and answer the question. Don't wait without answering the question, because otherwise, if you wait without answering, examiner cannot give you any marks, right? So you need to attempt. If a particular question is very, very difficult, remember, it's not just only you, but across the world, there are thousands sitting for the exam. They might find it difficult as well, okay? So it's not just you, okay? So with that, we come to the end of our session today. We're starting revision classes from 28th of April, from next week. And if you guys are interested to register, please do so after this session. A registration page will open. If you want to attend the session, please register and we will enroll you for the session. Okay, good luck to everybody. Some of you have asked me questions in the chat and I will attempt to answer all those via email. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. Good luck to you guys all.